Let's throw some jabs.
The fight starts now!
All right, Sergio, 1 month after seeing a scheduled fight with Asim Rahman Jr. scuttled over a weight issue, Jake Paul is back. Paul will face former MMA star Anderson Silva on October 29th on pay-per-view. Sergio Silva is 47 and best known for his accomplishments in the octagon, but he is 3-1 as a boxer, which includes a win over former middleweight champion Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. So what is your reaction to Jake Paul, Anderson Silva?
Why do you do this to me, Mannix? Why do you do this to me? You know it. You know it's not going to be positive. You know, you mentioned Jake Paul as a boxer, and it makes me cringe. Now, if you want to attach celebrity boxer to this question, then yeah, I'll answer the question, and I'll give you my honest opinion. He stinks. He's not a boxer. He's not a professional fighter. Until he faces a real professional fighter. I don't care if he's 2-2. I don't care if he's 0-2. As long as he's a professional fighter, I'm going to give him credit. I'm going to give him credit for being a promoter, selling the fight, having a lot of fans, bringing new eyes to the sport, supposedly, and facing a real professional fighter with a real professional boxing license. Until then, don't give me a 47-year-old Anderson Silva who's been out of the ring. He's beaten one boxer or three boxers, yeah, but Jake Paul hasn't beaten a boxer, so why am I going to respect this man? I am not going to respect this clown and his circus show going from town to town until he faces a real fighter. Other than that, don't come to me with that nonsense.
Well, to be clear, Anderson Silva does have a professional boxing license. He is a professional boxer. This is a sanctioned fight in Phoenix, Arizona on October 29th. Now, you mentioned his record. Sergio, I believe in your 10th or 11th professional fight, you fought a guy that was 2-3. You fought a guy later in your professional career with a worse record than the guy Jake Paul is fighting right now. I think Jake Paul continues to be held to a standard that fighters like yourself refuse to hold them to. You fought guys with losing records. You fought guys, frankly, far more incompetent than Anderson Silva is. Anderson Silva is coming off a decision win over Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Now, you can say it was a way past his prime Chavez who wasn't in shape and wasn't motivated and all those things. But the fact remains that Anderson Silva, at 46, got into the ring with Chavez and beat him. So coming off that win, he had one more win after that as well. So he's got some momentum with 3 straight wins. This is a perfectly reasonable fight for Jake Paul to take. One other thing. Everybody keeps saying that Jake Paul won't fight a real fighter. He's tried multiple times. He made 2 fights with Tommy Fury. Tommy Fury backed out of both of them. He made 1 fight with Asim Rahman Jr. Asim Rahman Jr. could not make weight, and that fight was canceled. I do not want to hear that Jake Paul is not trying to face a, quote, real boxer. He has been trying for almost a year now. It's the real boxers that can't find a way to get into the ring with him.
And that's the standard we're holding to a real boxer is Tommy Fury, whose record stinks. I've never seen anyone face losers like Tommy Fury. And Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., who, yeah, picked up a belt against Sebastian Zibic sometime somewhere, but we know his training habits. We know that he's not responsible. We know that he goes overweight, that his game and heart is not in the game, and he's an embarrassment to the sport. But I would have given Jake Paul credit if he would have faced Chavez Jr. No, Anderson Silva is the one that faced and beat Chavez Jr. Jake Paul still has nobody even relevant to being a professional fighter in his record. He has wrestlers, he has basketball players, and he has dweebs. Other than that, don't come at me with these questions, Mannix. This is a circus, and this is a clown performing in the circus, going from city to city, taking money from suckers. Every sucker is born every day. That's what P.T. Barnum said, and he's cashing in all the way to the bank, laughing.
All right, well, I think you're A, butchering the P.T. Barnum line, but B, so you would give Jake Paul more credit if instead of facing Anderson Silva in his next fight, he was facing Julio Cesar Chavez Jr.
Absolutely. Because at least
so hold on. Again, just to clarify, you would rather him face Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. than the guy that beat Julio Cesar Chavez Jr.
Yes, because Chavez Jr. is younger. What is he, 15 years younger than Anderson Silva? 47 years old. You shouldn't be in the ring. You shouldn't even be in the ring at 40. At least Chavez still has a 3 in front of his age. No, man, come on. Age defeats fighters. And you got a Jake Paul who's a younger 28-year-old guy going to face a fighter that's almost 50? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, but this fighter who's 47, which I don't think is almost 50, 47 years old, is coming off a win over the 30-something-year-old fighter. I don't know why that's not registering with you. Like, who knows what kind of condition Julio Cesar Chavez would come in. If he came in the same condition that he was when he fought Anderson Silva, he would get smoked by Jake Paul. At least Anderson Silva seems to be taking this boxing thing reasonably seriously. He seems to be improving in every single fight. He improved enough to beat a former middleweight champion. I don't want the former middleweight champion in a situation like this. I want the guy that beat the former middleweight champion.
I just want him to face a real fighter. He's a great promoter. He has a lot of eyes on him. He talks the talk, but he doesn't walk the walk to me. Until he faces a real professional fighter, and there's a lot of them out there, pick one, that's when he gets my respect. Other than that, move on.
Would you qualify as a real fighter?
I'm a former champion. I've only been beat by champions, absolutely, and I'll take that fight. But he will never do it because a body shot or I'll chin check him quick. And I'll give him the 15 pounds. He's complaining about 15 pounds, I'll give him 20 pounds. Doesn't make no difference.